I think it's interesting. What is history? It's asking what is history. Today, I noticed today and today. As we flew kites, it's very immediate. It's got this tone of immediacy. We flew kites, the sand spinning off in ribbons along the beach. So we've got the sense of like, I've got this image of a ribbon flying, sand spinning off in ribbons across the beach. And yet we've got this sense of unease because we've got the gas smell, so the smell of fuel. So we've got beauty and fuel. So we've got this kind of tension. As I said in the other YouTube, it's disjointed. Quail grey in the distance. We've got bird, so quail grey, bird. The natural and the man-made. Jogging, or perhaps, so people. So we've got the sense of people out on their own. So it's really interesting, that, isn't it? The idea of people all out on their own. Jogging or stopping to watch as the warplanes cambered and turned. So we've got this kind of warplanes in the morning light. Today. So again, that repetition of the idea of why today, with the news in my mind, the muffled dread of what may come, so future. I knelt down in the sand with Lucas. Interesting, he's not with Lucas on the page. He's not actually with Lucas. I knelt down in the sand with Lucas. And yet there's a brokenness. Gathering shells and pebbles, finding evidence of life in all this drift work. So there's movement, and he's looking for life, connection with nature. Snail shells, shreds of raver, smudges of weed and flesh. Interesting, flesh, wow. And flesh. Did we notice that at first? And flesh on tide-worn stone. Weed and flesh. Suddenly we come back to those warplanes. Warplanes, flesh. Flesh on the stone, suddenly there's death. At times I think what makes us who we are, so the question is, who are we? What makes us who we are? It's a big question. Who are we? What makes us who we are? Are we living in the now? And we've got the sense of what we own and our dreams. We are a product of what we own, and we live somewhere between what we have, all the stuff we've got, and our dreams. And we live somewhere between the two. This is where we are. But I think it's really important. Are we taking note of now? Are we taking note of nature? Or are we always constantly living halfway to our dreams? I can't wait for this. I can't wait for this. I can't wait for the next. I can't wait for holidays. I can't wait for the following. It's what I do all the time. And it's really dangerous, isn't it? We're living always here, not in where we are right now. Are we now? Are we here right now in this moment? Are we making history right now, or are we always living for the next thing? It's a really interesting poem for me. That's what it says to me. It might say something different to you. Neither kinship nor argument. I think what makes us who we are is not your kinship, not your family, not your kinship or your state. What makes us who we are? Is it what we own, what we dream, or is it our kinship or our state? Is it because we're Welsh or English, or what nation we are, what state we are, or is it who we hang out with, our friends? What makes us who we are? Is what we own or what we desire? Is it our kinship or our state? Write that on your page. Is neither kinship nor our given states, but something lost between the world we own and what we dream about behind the names on days like this. This is where we are, here, between kinship and state, between own and dream. Our lines raised in the wind, our bodies fixed and anchored to the shore. So that sense of being held down, gravity almost. Held down, held back. And though we are confined by property, all our stuff, we are confined. It limits us. It limits us. What tethers us to gravity and light has most to do with distance and shapes we find in water. What gives us freedom, what tethers us to gravity and light. What tethers us to light? Really interesting. There's no one set image. What gives us freedom? Is it freedom? Is the shape we find in water. Nature, water. Reading from the book of Silt and Tides, nature. Nature water, nature tides. The rose or petrol blue of jellyfish and sea anemone combining with a child's first nakedness. What makes us who we are is holding on to nature and looking at that child's first nakedness, that natural. All natural images, water, tides, a child's first nakedness. Sometimes I'm dizzy with the fear of losing everything, the sea, the sky, all living, listing, forests, estuaries. We trade so much. We've given up so much to know the virtual. We scarcely register other bodies. We scarcely register one another. We're so in the virtual that we don't register the drift and tug of each other, the pull of humanity, of nature, of realness, of being in the moment. We scarcely apprehend the moment as it happens. We scarcely apprehend the moment as it happens. We scarcely notice the moment as it happens. Shift of light and weather. We don't notice these shifts of light and weather and the quiet local forms of history. The fish lodged in the tide beyond the sands, the long insomnia of ornamental carp in public parks. Carp, fish in parks. Trapped. Captive and bright. Hung in their own slow-burning transitive gold. Jam jars of spawn or sticklebacks or goldfish carried home. So the idea of childhood innocence, jam jar. Spawn. Natural. Exploring. The goldfish carried home. From fairgrounds, the hum of radio to the hum of radio. So this is not natural. Not natural to the hum of radio. But this is the problem. This, how to be alive. How to be alive in all this gazed upon. We're looking at it. We're looking at it. We cherish it. How do we do no harm? How do we do no harm? A toddler on a beach sifting wood and dried weed. So this is what toddlers do. They look in the natural world, sorting through things. Wood, dried weed from sand, and puzzled by the pattern on a shell. His parents on the dune, sand dunes. Slacks with kite plugged into the sky. So sense of that kite, but plugged in. Is it tech? What is it? What are they plugged into? Are they plugged into their toddler? Sifting wood and dried weed from the sand and puzzled, looking at a shell. What's this shell got? Look at this shell, yeah? All nerve and line, patient, afraid, but still through everything. Attentive, listening to the unsavable. And I discussed that in the other YouTube video. Good. Excellent. I'm hoping that will have helped you through history. It's quite a complex one, but I think it's really worth it. And there's loads and loads of notes to help you on page 24 and 25 if you're struggling.